Jason Chinnock, and I'm the CEO of Ducati North America, and it's an honor to welcome you guys here tonight. But Chicago is my second home because of the food, the music, and of course the people. So it's great for me to be able to be here and to be able to kick this off tonight. And we've got a lot of exciting things to tell you, and different from last year, it's not just going to be talking about bikes, because Ducati is more than just a motorcycle. You guys know that Ducati is a brand, and as a brand that means we offer a whole world of experiences. It's 360 degrees. It's not just the bike. The bike is the key to the door, if you will. It's the idea is to awaken something in you that you may or may not have known that you had inside of you. And that's what's beautiful about our motorcycles, is that it does that. It takes something that you have that maybe is either dormant or you forgot you had. Maybe if you're a returning rider and you hop on a motorcycle, and specifically Ducati, and that experience just brings something to life. Now let's jump into the world of Ducati, but I'm going to talk about something that's a little bit different when we think about two wheels with Ducati. And that's this. And so a lot of people are like, what, Ducati's getting into bicycles? And actually, if you know Ducati's history, it's one of the things that we did is the Cucciolo, which is that 50cc motor, which basically translates to puppy, would bolt up to a bicycle that was utilized for transportation after World War II. And the concept is this is a much more modern interpretation of that idea. And this is an e-mountain bike. And our mission is actually to get people excited and have great experiences in the world of two wheels. So we don't just limit it to motorcycles. If you get a chance to get up close and see it, we have 3 different models that are coming out with it. The Panigale R, as you see here, which will be basically the leader of the bunch. And then the S, which is a bit more of a trail-oriented bike. And then something kind of fun for running around town and all this is actually a scrambler version with a fixed rear suspension and a front fork with these really cool Pirelli balloon tires and so on. So take a look at these. We're going to have them in North America, and I think they're going to arrive around April. But it should be a really exciting thing for us to do, and also help bring people maybe outside of the world of motorcycling that are in the world of bicycling into motorcycling as well through this product. This year we saw in 2019 the launch of the Diavel 1260. And we had a tremendous success with the bike. In fact, with that 1260 motor, which is just an incredible machine of torque, we had great sales success, both globally and locally. And this year we refined the look to be able to come up to bring a flat black version of the S, of the standard, but we also are bringing in the S in Ducati red. And you'll see it behind you guys here. We actually have it out on display. And this thing has some really nice attention to detail and some nice touches that highlight the design of the bike in red, which we generally can never go wrong bringing something out in Ducati red. Something else that I want to point out is that we've got a couple of the Ducati Owners Clubs here tonight. Guys, raise your hands if you're here from the DOCs. Come on. Thank you, guys. Thank you guys for your support here. The DOCs are actually if you're not part of the DOC, it's one of the most exciting, active groups of riders. And these guys are they're hitting me up tonight about doing rides in India and in Mexico and some crazy good ideas, but also a lot of just camaraderie with the clubs. So the Multistrada, it's amazing. There you go. 16 years that the Multistrada has come out, and late last year we hit over 100,000 global sales on this bike. And I remember when the Multistrada 1000 came out, we're no stranger to dirt. I mean, besides the Scrambler, there was the Mountaineer, there were lots of Ducatis in the 60s that were both on-off-road oriented as well. And this year, in 2020, we're actually at the Quail Motorsports Gathering, we're gonna celebrate, let's call it the Explorer or the Adventure side of Ducati, which will go into the history of all of these older bikes that actually Ducati was not necessarily ever really known for, but to tell the story of where we're at and where we've got all the way up to this point. And we took all of this into what we identify as the final Multistrada 1260 that we're going to see in production for this next year out of the S version. And the intention, we know that with these bikes, there's not only good comfort and load capacity, you have sport-inspired suspension, wheels and brakes and tires on the bikes, and then really some cool cutting-edge technology with the variable timing on the motorcycle that allows you to have a very smooth delivery of power and torque throughout the entire RPM range. So we took all of that into this version of the Multistrada 1260S Grand Touring, which we've unveiled in this really cool livery just for this year. That actually has some nice highlights with fog lights that come standard on the motorcycle, the touring pack, which is the heated grip center stand and saddlebags, and then also the electric fuel cap, so you keep your key in your pocket, you pop the cap when you're at the gas station without having to stick it in, and then also the tire pressure monitoring system, which is really great if you're going to do long distance road trips, and you can actually not even have to get off the bike to know where your tire pressure is at. So this bike has already started arriving, and I think we've even got one here tonight. So moving on to the next bike, the Panigale V2. Panigale V2 is probably one of the bikes I'm personally most excited about this year, because I'm getting myself, I just got measured for a Sumi Sura suit yesterday. It's going to be a year of track for me. So the Panigale V2, we just started arriving, is an incredibly compact bike. This is the follow-up to the 959. There's some significant differences on the bike as well though. So not only does it have this very compact size, but you have the same design aesthetics that you saw when we unveiled the Panigale V4, which includes a full LED headlight package and that almost, let's say, sinister look from the front of the bike that means business. We've also brought the single-sided swing arm back to this model from the 959, having the dual-sided swing arm. Why? Because it looks great. I mean, ultimately, that's the reason why. And we've also found a way with a similar motor to basically increase the horsepower by 5 horsepower and the torque as well. But what's more important, and you can already start reading it because we did the press launch in, I think it was early December, you can start reading the articles and talking about how usable and how friendly and how fun this motorcycle is. So the Panigale V4. A couple years ago when we unveiled this, actually here in Chicago as well, we didn't know how the market was going to respond, because we stepped away from a familiarity that we had for all these years of the twin. What's really exciting to be able to share with you is that the Panigale V4 has actually been the best-selling superbike in the world, which is incredible. Yes, I mean, like, that's for the engineers and the designers and the whole team that decided to take a risk here. The best-selling superbike in the world. And in North America, the US specifically, it's the #1 selling superbike in the US for 2 years running. And I mean, I remember the days where you just pick one of, like, whether it be a Suzuki GSX-R or whatever it was, they would sell 4, 5, 6, 7 times the volume. But the fact that we've stayed true to who we are on this bike, we've actually achieved this, which is really, it's really a testament to what has been put into this. But instead of resting on our laurels and just ending up with the best-selling superbike in the world and patting ourselves on the back, our engineers don't rest. They know that once you get that, it's really easy to be knocked down. So these guys went back to the drawing board and they took this idea of, okay, we know the bike has excellent performance, effort reduction, emotion, etc. And they went back and they said, we need to look at how we can improve something that's already damn good as it is. So the new Panigale V4 is referred to as the science of speed. And these guys attacked all of these different areas, from the aerodynamics, the chassis setup, the electronic suite, and then the mapping for the ride-by-wire. And to give you an idea, I mean, the very first thing is something that you've seen already because it was introduced in the Panigale V4, and that's a completely new aerodynamics package that's on the bike. But why that's important is because that aerodynamics package allows for minimal amount of drag and it improves the downforce on the front end of the motorcycle as well. And you can see this from this animation of actually how it works as it would be going through fluid. And the benefit of this is it actually reduces the front wheel floating at high speeds. So under hard acceleration, you know that front wheel gets that little float or that drift or wheelie, whatever you want to call it. The way that modern motorcycles have found a way to manage that is through electronics intervention. But when you have the electronics intervene, what do you do when you're cutting power? So this allows that to happen in a very natural way, where the amount of throttle that you're giving and the amount of, well, actually the faster you go, the more downforce you have on the front end, which actually creates up to 60 foot-pounds of torque at 167 miles an hour. So it's designed with that in mind. So imagine putting 60 pounds of weight in front of the bike at that speed to keep the front end down. So it reduces obviously the tendency to wheelie unnecessarily. You can still turn the wheelie control off. And it provides greater stability under braking. Under hard deceleration, what happens is that you've ever got that greasy front wheel feeling? You're hard decelerating, your front end starts to slip and slide a little bit. This actually keeps it tracked and planted, just like a wing. We've also tuned the entire front frame, which is taken from what we learned with the Panigale V4R. And this actually not only reduces the weight of the bike, it increases torsional stiffness and braking stiffness, and it gives better front end feel and wear of the front tire. And this is something that some of the feedback that we received from the Panigale V4 in the first couple of years of its testing and the riding and the different reviews that we received, this has been a point of improvement. And so when we put it on the V4R, we decided it was making its way to this bike as well. And there's a ton of things that we can go over about the bike, because there's so much that's been done. But I just wanted to highlight on a couple of those obvious things. I mean, the new high center of gravity, the distribution of weight on the bike, the higher chain force angle. I mean, there's so many things that have been done on this bike that have actually been a significant improvement. So while on the outside it looks like it's just aerodynamics, there's a lot more that meets the eye on the bike. So the power and the torque, 214 horsepower. We know that we break over 230 horsepower with the full Acura system on it as well. So this is the Panigale lineup for 2020, which is pretty badass in the picture right there. I think somebody's looking at what their garage is going to be for this next year. Here is what we refer to as the fight formula. So you take the Desmos Vici Stradale engine, you add biplane wings, the V4 electronic suite, a high handlebar, remove the fairing, is what you need that for, and you have 208 horsepower. I'll let the video speak for itself. So ladies and gentlemen, the Streetfighter V4. So there she is. And this bike has been a fun one for the team to develop. In fact, there's a film coming out this next summer. Free Guy, yes, exactly. That we actually built one of these about a year ago in our offices in Mountain View. Because we had the opportunity to do this film, and the bike is a hero of the film, and it's a hero of Ron Reynolds' character. And actually back then it didn't have wings. And we were playing with but our engineers were playing with the different geometry and the suspension and the swing arm to try and find that best fit. So it's interesting to see it was not part of the original concept. In fact, when you see the movie, you'll see that it actually doesn't have the wings. Because when we put the bike together at that time, it was all rapid prototyping parts. But let's talk about the design of the bike, because actually, I think that the first thing you generally look at when you see a bike is you see its face, just like when you look at anybody in the eyes. And the inspiration of the design of the headlight, while you can see a little nod to the past of the previous generation Street Fighter, it was actually the Joker. In fact, you see this image of the Joker, and you can see how it evolved into what was the headlight, which ended up being the final headlight on the motorcycle itself. So we start on the Panigale with the Panigale V4 rolling chassis. So basically what we're saying is this is the Panigale V4 with the bodywork removed. And we added the biplane wings. And these wings provide a very similar amount of downforce as well. It has the same effect. But since we don't have the upper front fairing, there's a different application that we have in order to be able to address that same challenge. But also, as opposed to having clip-on handlebars, you know your weight is, you're sitting a little bit more upright, so there's less of your own weight on the front end of the motorcycle. So you need that downforce in order to keep that front end down. The engine is exactly the same engine that's in the Panigale V4. It's the Desmo Stradale engine. You might ask, why does it deliver power differently? Well, the idea behind this is that this is a bike that was designed and intended mainly for use in the street. So we actually delivered, not only does it deliver the 208 horsepower, which is a little bit down on what's compared to the standard V4, but it delivers an increase in torque and the torque at a much more linear delivery of torque. And you can even see in comparison the torque at the rear wheel and third gear between the two models. You can see that Street Fighter has a significant amount of torque through that speed range where you're actually going to be riding this motorcycle. When you're finding yourself in the corners, you're not going to want to rev it to get to where the power is. You want it to be there through the corners. Our team has actually worked very carefully on what they call the ergonomic triangle and researched a lot of other models and actually made sure that this is something that's comfortable to ride for longer distances as well. By no means is it any sort of sport touring motorcycle, but it takes a lot of pressure off the wrist and it gives you still the feel that you need and the comfort and handling. And then it has that same electronic suite that I mentioned before, between quartering ABS traction control, slide control, wheelie control, the power launch, the quick shift up and down, the engine braking control, and on the S version, as you see here, it also has the electronic suspension that comes standard on this. The dry weight is 392 pounds, but what's more important is that it has the best power to weight ratio of its segment. So, you know, people can talk about more power or a lighter bike, but when you have that mix between power and weight, that's actually the magic formula of what makes the difference when you're riding the bike. So here are the final figures. The crazy thing about this bike is that we've had an incredible amount of demand and anticipation for this model. And we actually will start arrivals will be sometime around early to mid-April. And right now, our production, the demand has exceeded the production right now. We have all the way through.
In this industry, I have 3 motorcycles like right now, but I'm 3 different brands.
No, like me, so
Well, I want the best.
There's not.
That button there is basically just a button to usually install that. That's the standard. Correct. Yeah.
Almost.
You know, that's one thing I haven't found out myself. If that's the stock seat or if that's the process.
That's why I race bikes speed.